What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second week of Horror Headlines. It is April 25th. I am John Maher from Why We Love Horror. That is Hunter Chambless from Welcome to Primetime. And we are here to give you your weekly horror headlines in the horror world. Hunter, how you doing this week?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing, John?
Doing great. And without any further ado, I know we're streaming live to YouTube. We're streaming live to the Facebook group. We're streaming live to X. We're streaming live to TikTok. So feel free to throw your comments in. If you're on Facebook or YouTube or X, your comments will appear on screen. If you're on TikTok, we'll interact with you live through the TikTok app. But without any further ado, what's our first topic of the day, Hunter?
Okay, so our first topic of the day. Can you hear me?
You're good now, yep.
All right. So our first topic today comes from bloodydisgusting.com, and it talks about The Invisible Man 2. It says Elizabeth Moss says the sequel is closer than ever to happening. So I'm going to read just a little bit of this paragraph. It says Universal has been having a hell of a time getting their Universal Monster brand back on a better path in the wake of the Dark Universe collapsing. With 4 movies thus far releasing in the years since The Mummy's attempt to get the interconnected universe off the ground. First was Lee Whannell's The Invisible Man, to date the only post-Mummy hit for the Universal Monsters, followed by The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Renfield, and now Abigail. The 3 latter films have attempted to bring Dracula back to the screen in fresh ways, but both Demeter and Renfield severely underperformed at the box office, and while Abigail is a far better vampire movie than those two, it is unfortunately also struggling to turn a profit. So then we go down. Given the film was such a success, you may wonder why The Invisible 2 hasn't come along in these past 4 years, but the wait for the sequel may come to an end. Speaking with the Happy Side Confused podcast this week, The Invisible Man star Elizabeth Moss noted that she feels very good about the sequel's development at this point in time. And then she goes on to say, Blumhouse and my production company, Love and Square Pictures, we are getting closer than we have ever been to cracking it. Moss updates this week, and I feel very good about it. She adds, we are very intent on continuing that story. So, John, thoughts on The Invisible Man 2 potentially happening?
This is good news for Blumhouse, who had, I think we talked about like last week or the week before that, just a string of underperforming movies that are kind of hyped, but like nobody really cares about them. I mean, I know Night Swim's been openly mocked, Imaginary's been openly mocked. No one openly mocks The Invisible Man. I've never heard anybody like make fun of that movie. However, the one thing about the marketing for The Invisible Man that I find weird is they never really come out and hit you over the head with the fact like, hey, we're redoing the Universal Monsters movies. The Invisible Man just seemed to share a title with the classic Invisible Man because the concept is totally different. The 2020's Invisible Man is a story about like domestic partner abuse and controlling toxic relationships and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Granted, the Invisible Man in the original Invisible Man movie was a huge dick. He was not. He was a dick to everybody. He wasn't a dick to his girlfriend. And then I'm psyched about the Wolfman. I'm psyched about a lot of other projects that Blumhouse has, but they're not promoting it as like a Universal Monsters revival. Like I know it is, you know it is, but when I look at the marketing material, like that's just like something that it feels like we're making that up. You know, like that's how I feel.
It could be. It could be. But to me, I'm kind of glad that they didn't immediately come off with the jump of The Invisible Man and be like, this is the start of our interconnected universe. I kind of like the fact that they're like doing kind of an early MCU, whereas like these movies can connect, but we're going to let our directors do the movies that they want to do. And if we want to connect them, we can.
Well, yeah, if you watched The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I'm sure you did, the ending
I did actually.
You didn't watch it? The last 3 minutes of that movie feels like an MCU. It's like it's just like the score and like how it's shot. Like it feels like we got more movies coming. Like, this guy's gonna hunt Dracula now. And that that article was like really like just punching all over the place. Like, yeah, Last Voyage of the Demeter, Renfield, Abigail. No, first of all, none of those movies are like tied really to Blumhouse. I guess Demeter slightly, but like Renfield, Abigail, no. Yeah, the character of Dracula is in those movies. It's definitely in Renfield. Abigail, it's implied that that's Dracula, but they never come out and say it. And his name is not Dracula in that movie.
Yeah. His name's not Dracula in Abigail.
And the thing is, why bring those movies up? You're never going to tie in. You're never going to tie in Renfield and Abigail into this Blumhouse Universal universe like that. First of all, no one's going to do that. The people, Renfield, you don't want to. It's a horror comedy, and Radio Silence has a good thing going, and they've already announced that Abigail is in the Ready or Not universe. So
wait, really?
Yeah, they have not denied it. Let's put it that way. They have not denied it.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Really implied, and there's a lot of Easter eggs in Abigail.
I gotta rewatch Abigail, man, to see
in the
those
background.
Easter eggs.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in the background that hint at the fact that they're in the same universe. Not to mention, like the effects. Like when the Ladoma's family is killed in Ready or Not, when the vampires are killed in Abigail, it's literally the same exploding blood effect. So like there's
yeah.
Like it's clearly like linear in that universe.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two together. I thought they were completely separate, but if they're a part of the same universe, that's fucking awesome.
Going back to this whole like Blumhouse reviving Universal thing, there's a long way to go. Like if they really want to get like a revival of Universal monsters, they have a long way to go. We need a good Dracula / vampire film. We need the Wolfman to hit. We need that to be a hit. We need a Frankenstein / Frankenstein's monster film.
Is that one with Christian Bale under the Universal pictures?
You mean
I know? I know Christian Bale has
the pale blue eye.
Is that the name of it? It's like a new Frankenstein type movie with Christian Bale coming out next year.
Oh no, it isn't out yet. Then I don't know. I don't think so. It's definitely not tagged by Blumhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be separate. But the thing is, like, if there's a property that's kind of like silently putting out a ton of movies in recent years, it's Frankenstein. Like The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, Birth, Rebirth, all these movies are Frankenstein. Like they're not out and out saying this is a Frankenstein movie, but like people are doing. Granted, it's more for horror heads like you and me. Like nobody's really going out and watching Birth, Rebirth or The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. But like for
Birth, Rebirth is weird, but I love it.
But it's definitely, you can't deny it's a Frankenstein story.
It is.
Lisa Frankenstein just came out. Like we are getting saturated Frankenstein stories. So, but none of them are a legit like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So
sorry to interrupt you. I looked up the Christian Bale one I'm talking about. He is playing Frankenstein's monster in Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride.
Oh, is that a remake of The Bride then? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, The Bride's also like, a remake of Bride of Frankenstein, sort of. But back to the original point. Like Invisible Man 2, obviously Invisible Man was huge. It was a great movie, so well done. I'm in for it. If Lou Whannell is coming back to direct, I'm totally in for it. I don't know what the story is going to be, per se, but I trust this crew. If Elizabeth Moss is coming back, I know she's not gonna do any script. Like she's very choosy, and she does not do anything bad. Aside from her being the kid in the kid in that Hulk Mr. Nanny and the Hulk Hogan movie. I don't think she's had a bad script since that movie.
No,
or she was in Suburban Commando or Mr. Nanny. I think she was in Suburban Commando. Yeah.
But the only thing I am hesitant on is does the Invisible Man, the one we got in 2020, actually need a sequel? Because I feel like it's kind of a open and shut movie. Like you can watch it by itself, stand alone, and not worry about connecting it to any other movies.
Does it need a sequel? No, right? But if they do a sequel and Elizabeth Moss is attached and someone else is attached, I'm gonna watch it. Like,
I am too.
There's plenty of movies that probably didn't need sequels that got sequels and it was fine. So, I would be hesitant, but only very slightly hesitant because I imagine it's got to be good if they do it.
Yeah. What if you were, say, given the script to write whatever you wanted for the Invisible Man 2? What way would you go because they kind of left it open ending in the original one from 2020 where she has the suit in her suitcase.
Yeah, well, clearly the tech exists, right? And
Mhm.
clearly, if her ex-husband created the technology and he was like some sort of optics expert, he shared the technology with his brother, we know that at the very least there's a rival company that was doing the same tech,
Oh, I didn't
right?
think about that.
So, or like that tech has like the science behind the tech would have to exist, right?
Mhm.
So whether it's like she because she was an architect, right? So she wouldn't necessarily jump careers and be something else. But if she were to like have a reason to share that technology with like a defense contractor or something, because like that's not technology you're going to keep under wraps forever. So eventually that secret is going to come out, or somebody's going to rediscover it, right?
Yeah.
There's avenues back to rediscovering that tech, and once you rediscover that tech, then the avenue's open to abuse it. So what I think the cleanest way to do a script would be some other defense contractor creates that tech and all these weird things start happening and she understands what's happening because she's the only person alive that's lived through it. Her and her police officer friend would probably join in to like counter the new invisible. That would make sense to me. Or it could be somebody closely related to her husband's company who, rediscovers the tech. And then in order to fully commit crimes with the invisible suit, he knows he has to eliminate Cecilia.
Okay, that you've got a lot of great ideas. The one I was going to go with, and this might be a bad idea, make Cecilia the bad guy of this picture.
I don't think Elizabeth Moss would never let that happen.
That's fair, but I'm saying like the whole idea of her like just brutally murdering her. I get he's he's an abusive asshole, but like she slit his throat with like no fucking care. It's kind of the Samantha Carpenter from Scream 5 and 6 where she kind of gets a taste of the bloodlust, and you even see her at the end like Cecilia's holding the suit and the cop sees the suit and he's like, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, very sympathetic. He was there for the whole deal, Yeah. So, but again, bottom line, if Invisible Man 2 comes out, I'm going to see it.
Me too.
It's going to have enough hype that it won't bomb. So,
especially if Leigh Whannell is directing the Wolfman movie at the end of this year, right?
If they're just going to give him everything, that's fine. He doesn't have a ton of movies under his belt, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Like, give the man more movies. Like he has. He hasn't screwed anything up yet. Like, I understand.
But
let him direct.
But if the Wolfman is a success and it's a great critically and makes a lot of money, then the hype for Invisible Man 2, where you bring Leigh Whannell back, will get even more people talking about it. So it's kind of a good way to be like, all right, we're coming off of a success for the Wolfman, and now let's get into production on Invisible Man 2.
Right. By the way, if you're just joining us here, I'm John Maher from Marvel Love Horror. That is Hunter Chambless from Welcome to Primetime. This is Horror Headlines, and we're moving on to our next headline of the night. What else happened in horror this week, Hunter, that we need to talk about today?
All right, let me go ahead and bring up our second topic for the night. The Exorcism trailer. It's a movie starring Russell Crowe with producer credit by Kevin Williamson of Scream fame. Just hit this afternoon. So we're going to talk about it. It says Russell Crowe is starring in a brand new meta possession horror movie titled The Exorcism, and Vertical has unleashed the official trailer this afternoon. Vertical has picked up the North American rights to The Exorcism, which they'll bring to theaters on June 7th. Shudder is also on board to bring the film home later this year. Joshua John Miller, who wrote 2015's The Final Girl, and also starred in films including Near Dark and You Thought Your Parents Were Weird, directed The Exorcism. Joshua John Miller also wrote the script with M.A. Fortin of The Final Girls. This one is personal for Miller, as his late father was the star of the best possession movie ever made. Miller said in a statement this week, the origins of the film stems from my childhood spent watching my father, Jason Miller, play the doomed Father Karras, flinging himself out a window at the climax of The Exorcist. If that wasn't haunting enough on its own, my dad never sheered away from telling me stories of just how cursed the movie was. The mysterious fires, the plague that plagued the production, the strange deaths, the lifelong injuries, the list went on and on. The lore of any cursed film has captivated me ever since. With The Exorcism, we wanted to update the possession movie formula for the world where no one groups own goodness and decency over another. We were gifted with an extraordinary cast and a creative team to tell a story about how we're all vulnerable to darkness if we fail to face our demons. The devil may retaliate, but what other choice do we have? The film previously had been announced under the title The Georgetown Project, which I kind of wish it kept that. That's an awesome name. The Exorcism follows Anthony Miller Crowe, a troubled actor who begins to unravel while shooting a supernatural horror film. His estranged daughter wonders if he is slipping back into past addictions or is something more sinister at play. So, John, what did you think about this trailer?
You said a word in that article that gave me pause, and that is the fact that this is a vertical production. I don't know how familiar you are with Vertical Pictures. Not a great track record. Are they Jagged Edge? No, they are not Jagged Edge bad, but they're like, if Jagged Edge is third grade, they're fourth grade. Like it's
no,
it's not. I mean, Russell Crowe is Russell Crowe. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
he's gonna bring it, and he's. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's great in every single thing he's ever been in, but like 95% of the time, Russell Crowe is good. Now, I don't know, but yeah, you say vertical. Kevin Williamson's attached to it. Russell Crowe's attached to it. A few other names are attached to it. I'm optimistic, I guess, but vertical releasing is like a death knell for a movie. Sorry if any executives from Vertical are watching, I apologize. But like, it's just clean your shit up. It's bad.
So I did not know about the production company. All I heard was a meta supernatural horror movie produced by Kevin Williamson, and I was immediately in. Because
did Kevin Williamson write the script, or is he just producing?
I believe he read the script as well, because most of the time he produces a project, he reads the script with it. Like that's part of. So he
put it up. He rewrote it. All right. If we're gonna get some of that like Williamson-y dialogue, then like
I don't know if he rewrote it or not. I just know that normally when he produces something, he does have involvement to read the script, and he usually does.
I'm also like, I'm not concerned, but it's weird that we got The Pope's Exorcist last year. Yeah, now we're gonna get this movie this year. Like, Russell Crowe he's a temperamental man, but he's an intelligent man. So I got to imagine he knows what he's doing, but to do movies like that back to back is weird.
I will say the only reason I'm okay with this in particular is because The Exorcism from the trailer seems like it's gonna take the supernatural genre and kind of turn it on its head, kind of like Scream did with slashers. I'm not comparing this movie to Scream. Don't get me wrong. I doubt it's gonna be as good as Scream, but the whole idea of like Russell Crowe's character is an actor. He is on the set of an exorcism movie, and then he slowly gets possessed, and then it's more of the idea of like, okay, is he going back to his addictions, the alcohol and stuff like that, or is this set that he's on actually, cursed? So it's taking that idea of cursed films and kind of bringing it into a meta level of a horror film.
Well, if we're going to get like a deconstruction of exorcism films with Kevin Williamson attached to it, I'm interested just for the sake of being interested. However, like I said twice already, like it's vertical production. So I don't know what kind of backing this movie's going to have to like really explore this space, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
Oh, I am too. I'm super excited for this. And I kind of hope it takes people by surprise. I'm not a huge fan of supernatural movies. They're not my kind of cup of tea when it comes to horror. But if one is done really well, like The Conjuring or like The Exorcist, I do tend to enjoy those. And the fact that you have the son of Jason Miller, who played Father Karras in The Exorcist, he's going to kind of treat this as a homage to his father. So that kind of gives me a little bit of hope that he's not going to let Vertical Pictures screw this up as much as they did with previous films.
Fair enough. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I see it. But like I said,
That's fair.
there's enough like good actors and good people within the sphere attached to this that like it's gonna be hard to sink it, but we'll see.
All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Okay, while Hunter's pulling that up, I'm John Maher from Marvel of Horror, and that is Hunter Chambless from Welcome to Prime Time. This is Horror Headlines for this week, April 25th. What's our third headline of the night? What are we talking about?
All right, 28 years later, got some new casting. Ray Fiennes, Jodie Comer, and Aaron Taylor Johnson join the long-awaited sequel. All right, from Blade Disgusting, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, the director and writer behind the 2002 hit horror film 28 Days Later, are reteaming for the long-awaited sequel 28 years later. The Hollywood Reporter reports that the sequel has cast Jodie Comer from Alone in the Dark and Killing Eve, Aaron Taylor Johnson from Kraven the Hunter, and Ray Fiennes from The Menu recently. The plan is for Garland to write 28 years later and Boyle to direct, and Garland also plans on writing at least one more sequel to the franchise. Director Nia DaCosta is currently in talks to helm the second installment, which we talked about, I believe, on our first episode.
Yeah. With everything attached to this movie now, I mean, they're going all out. They're pulling in like really great actors, like Ray Fiennes. I mean, nothing else to say. Jodie Comer, like accomplished stage actress, accomplished television actress, accomplished film actress, and ATJ has been killing it too. And then I believe, aren't they also bringing Cillian Murphy back?
I believe that was a report. I don't know how true that report is.
I mean, we don't necessarily need. I imagine it's a possibility, and like he's just coming off of a huge year, obviously with Oppenheimer.
Oh, 100%.
So, and then you got Alex Garland going back to what he does best, writing. Danny Boyle, like extremely accomplished director. I mean, I don't. Again, this seems like a no miss formula. If this is what we're really doing, I'm here for it. What do you think,
dude? It seems like every episode so far we've brought up something about this topic, and every single time they add something new, I get more excited for it. I'm somebody who watched 28 Days Later so I watched it a few years ago. I thought it was a really amazingly done zombie-ish film. So the idea of taking that and kind of updating it and like seeing where the characters are, so many years later. Danny Boyle is a really good director. Alex Garland is a really accomplished writer, and I love most of his films as well. So, again, as you said, this is a no-miss formula, and if they do, then something really, messed up happened in either the writing process or studio involvement, because I can't see this movie not being good.
Yeah, 28 Days Later, and I guess Snyder's Dawn of the Dead are the two movies that really introduced the holy shit, these things run aesthetic, which totally, flipped the zombie genre on its head, because you had the shambling Romero zombies up to that point for the most part. So yeah, I think everybody who is in this community will point to 28 Days Later as like a touchstone within the subgenre. And Danny Boyle was the guy who was at the helm then. So bringing him back now is good and nostalgic, right? And then and every time they attach a different actor, Alex Garland, hard writer, incredibly good writer. And then every actor they attach to this project, like I would go to see the movie with any of those three people.
Oh, 100%. I would as well. Yes.
But you're going to give me all three of these people, including the other people who have already been kind of, rumored to be attached to this movie. I mean, I don't know if the script is in it. I don't know if we're dealing with like if the same outbreak is still going on 28 years later, or they've recovered from it and then something else happens. Like, I don't know what's going to be. I'm up for either way. I believe Alex Garland, this seems like an easy task for Alex Garland. Concept-wise, it'll probably be the fine details really iron it out, I imagine.
Oh, I highly doubt this is going to be a miss when it comes to Alex Garland. The The one name that really surprised me was Ray Fiennes. I am such a huge fan of Ray Fiennes. I grew up watching the Harry Potter films. He was Voldemort. He was amazing, terrifying. But recently, one of his best performances for me recently is him in The Menu. I think what he does in The Menu, he brings this. He's still scary, and he's still the villain. He's still, this kind of menacing figure. But towards the end of The Menu, he really brings heart to that character, which is, this is a guy who has been hurt so much in the food industry that this is the lengths he's going to. And all it takes is one moment of him cooking a cheeseburger because he used to flip burgers and was happy. And that moment brought just a little bit of heart. And it wasn't because of, a detail of the script, but it was because of a facial expression that he does. He's so good at emotion, like showing emotions with his face. So I can't wait to see what that does in a landscape of this outbreak. Like, that's gonna be just amazing.
Yeah, we don't know what role he's going to play. I imagine in a movie like this, all of the roles are survivor type people. But if they're going to go the route that like Ray Fiennes is like a secondary like antagonist in the movie, kind of like how Robert Carlyle was a secondary antagonist in 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah,
we all the way back to Red Dragon. Ray Fiennes can do it.
He's so good in Red Dragon.
Like Ray Fiennes can handle it. Believe me, like he can handle all that weight. So whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, he can do it. He can do either one. I'm kind of interested if he's like some kind of like weird, like someone who's taking advantage of. Because like in these movies, it's always about. Oh, we got a guy in the chat, Jack Jones. Nice to see you, sir. We know he can do both sides, right? We know we've seen him do plenty of things. So I am interested. Like you go in these zombie movies, and we know that the real threat is usually the human element, right? In 28 days later, they meet up with that military regiment. In 20 weeks later, people are just being sloppy with like quarantining. So we're going to have an evil human element in 28 years later. And honestly, if they tag Ray Fiennes to be that character, hell, or if they tag Aaron Taylor Johnson to be that character, I'm good either way. I'm good either way.
Yes. So if they can get Cillian Murphy back, and they make it to where Ray Fiennes' character is this kind of second antagonist, him going head to head with Cillian Murphy is going to fucking rule.
True. I mean, we're missing a lot of time, right? Because we know the whole resolution of Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris's characters from 28 Days Later. We don't really know what happens to them in 28 Weeks Later, obviously. But obviously they're alive at the end of 28 Days Later. So if we're gonna get some backstory of what happened, and we're getting years and years and years of Cillian Murphy's character, like learning to survive in this world. We don't know that gap is missing. But if they're going to build him up as some kind of survivalist, I'm here for it. Just go, please, Alex, write this script. I'm banking on you to do it right.
All right, so let's move on to our fourth topic of the night. You want to go ahead?
Before you jump into that, let's do the station identification. I'm John Maher from Marvel Horror. That's Hunter Chambless from Welcome to Primetime. This is Horror Headlines for the week of April 25th. Moving on to our fourth topic. What do you got for us, Hunter?
All right, again from BloodyDisgusting.com, Julia Gardner joins a horror movie, Weapons, from director of Barbarian. So, it says, in addition to Lee Whannell's upcoming Universal monster movie, The Wolfman, Julia Gardner has also joined the cast of Weapons, the Hollywood Reporter has announced tonight. Weapons is the new horror movie from New Line Cinema and director Zach Cregers, who directed Barbarian, with Julia Gardner joining the previously announced Josh Brolin. I did not know that. The upcoming Weapons is from writer-director Zach Cregers, who will produce alongside his Barbarian producer team, Roy Lee of Vertigo and J.D. Luschitz and Ralph Margles of Boulder Light Pictures. Vertigo's Miri Moon also produces. The Hollywood Reporter teases the plot for Weapons are being kept holstered, but it is described as a multi- and interrelated story horror epic that's totally in the vein of Magnolia, the 1999 actor cram showcase from filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson.
Well, here's the deal, right? Barbarian, obviously, you've seen. When Barbarian was being marketed, like the marketing, I think one of the biggest things about Barbarian's success was how that movie was marketed.
Yes.
They were very Zach Cregger's obviously coming from a comedic background, the same as Jordan Peele. Basically, his path to horror, same thing because he was on a sketch
Whitest
comedy.
kid you know, right?
He's one of the whitest kids you know. Yeah. So these people coming from sketch comedy backgrounds are apparently like great horror directors.
Yeah.
But the marketing behind Barbarian was like brilliant because like you had no idea what was happening. Even up until the movie being released, for some reason, like it was very slow coming out. Like you didn't know everything. Like I had no idea what that movie was about, and I watched that movie way after it was released. Like they were so good at protecting it. So if we're going to see that same kind of like ironclad, like CIA level protection of weapons, I'm all for it. Like don't tell me a thing. Like just tell me who's attached to it. Josh Brolin's there, Julia Garner's there. I like both of them. Cool. I don't need to know the plot. I'll see the movie.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm a huge fan of Barbarian. That was, I think, my number 2 movie of 2022, right behind The Menu. One thing I love about it is that, as you said, the marketing really made it seem like it was just going to be this, Bill Skarsgård is in this, Airbnb with this woman and what's going to happen. But that's literally the first 30 minutes of the movie. And then after that, shit hits the fan. So I love the fact, to the point that after the movie was released on their YouTube channel, they put out this comedic version of a trailer with Justin Long's character riding down the beach, and it has this kind of happy-go-lucky music in the background. So funny that they're kind of taking that, which is a horror element, and giving this kind of funny twist to it.
The marketing of Barbarian was so good. Like you didn't even realize Justin Long was like in the movie until you watched the movie. Like, oh, there's this whole subplot with this guy, this disgraced actor.
Yeah. Dude, exactly. The first time I watched that movie, I was like, it cuts abruptly, and I'm like, oh, we're on this now. Justin Long is in this. That's awesome. But
he's the best character in the movie. Like when he goes down in the basement, and then he immediately goes back up and searches like, can we add extra square footage to
that is my favorite line in the entire movie. But whatever Zach Cregger's is doing next gets me excited because of the success and how much I love Barbarian.
He's got like a golden ticket after Barbarian. Like, the
100%.
buzz is there, and you're attaching good actors to this movie, like big name actors. Let's go. I want to see. Don't even tell me what it's about. I'm gonna actively avoid it, but let's do it.
That's probably a great idea.
We're moving on to our final topic of the night. Again, I'm John Maher from Why We Love Horror. That's Hunter Chambless from Welcome to Prime Time. This is Horror Headlines for the week of April 25th. To be joining us on YouTube, we appreciate you. Facebook, we appreciate you. X, we appreciate you. And everyone coming here on TikTok, we appreciate you as well. What's the last thing we're talking about today?
All right. This movie is actually on my most anticipated horror movies of this year, and it's called Stream. Horror movie.
You're freezing a little bit there, Hunter. I do know a little bit about Stream. I do know that movie. A lot of people are attached to it, like Jeffrey Combs, and I think Daniel Harris is attached to it. Go ahead.
Yes,
you're back.
A lot of horror legends.
A lot of horror legends attached to this movie. I believe it's about a family that goes to a hotel, and it's a typical slasher plot. We just have all these legends in the movie.
Yeah.
They say it on bloodydisgusting.com.
So it says, while you wait for Damien Leone's Terrifier 3 later this year, the team's next horror movie, Stream, is heading to theaters in August. Deadline has announced this afternoon that Terrifier 2's theatrical distributor, Iconic Events Releasing, will bring Stream to theaters nationwide August 21st, 2024. The film is coming to theaters in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. So it says right here, Levy said in a statement today, we are beyond thrilled to partner with Iconic Events Releasing again, but this time to bring an all-new and modern horror film to the big screen. We built a very good relationship with Iconic through Terrifier 2, and now with the upcoming Terrifier 3, we are honored to keep this train rolling and continue to deliver fun and exciting horror movies to our incredible fan base and beyond. So here are the names attached to this movie. The cast is stacked with familiar faces, including Tony Todd, Jeffrey Combs, Danielle Harris, Tim Reed, Dee Wallace, Mark Holton, Felissa Rose, Daniel Roebuck, Dave Sheridan, Terry Alexander, David Howard Thornton, Charles Edwin Powell, Bob Adrian, Sidney Mallock, Wesley Holloway, Damian Moffel, and Michael Levy. Jesus
There's
Christ.
even a lot of great character actors in there. So like they went all the way down the list. They found seasoned vets all the way down the list for this movie. So I'm very excited about it. Even if it's just like a limited release, Shutter release, whatever it winds up being. Like I'm excited to watch it.
Oh yeah. When I was doing my like top 5 most anticipated horror movies, and I was looking and saw this movie, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And then I looked at the cast list, and I was like, oh my god, like so many you've got big name horror actors, and you've got people who are in smaller movies like Felissa Rose, who is, in my opinion, a horror icon because she's in a lot of things. You know, she was in Sleepaway Camp, she was in The Terrifier 2, like she's in a lot of different.
She's in Victor Crowley.
Victor Crowley,
Craving last year. She shows up a lot. Like like a lot of the movies, I would say like they're like these modern day VOD movies, but I don't care. Like she's great. She's great and she's recognizable and it's fine.
Dude, I am so excited for this film.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I don't need to know more about the plot. It's just it's a slasher set in a hotel. Great, sold.
That's it.
Care. Let's go. You know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all 5 topics.
Anybody commenting on the YouTube or Facebook? Any comments you want to throw up there?
I'm not seeing any comments right here. Is anyone on TikTok asking questions or anything?
No, people just saying hi in the chat. I'm just when they say hi, I say hi back. We got a couple people watching there, and a couple people I see are watching on YouTube as well. But if nobody's
5 people watching here on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, we'll hop off for now. This has been horror headlines for this week. I'm Calamity John Maher from Why We Love Horror. That is Hunter the Hitman Chambless from Welcome to Primetime. And thanks very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more horror headlines for you.